Hi, this is Odysseys of the Interior. My name is Noah, and I am very excited for you to be joining me here in this space for the first time today. I am excited to be on this side of the camera and not be a voyeur looking in, and to try my hand at this medium that many call booktube or internet book culture, what have you. I want to sort of do the usual genre videos that are made, book reviews, vlogs, a video essay here and there. But I primarily want to use this as like a literary experimental stomping ground of sorts. And I want to orient us to my first experiment. There has been a book that I've wanted to read for a while. A book whose presence has always been with me ever since I was a kid. And likely if you live in the US, it has so for you as well. It is a book whose impact knows almost no bounds, and yet people primarily only read an excerpt from and haven't read in its entirety. You can probably guess. I want to read the Bible. I want to read the Bible over the course of a year here in 2022. And you may be asking yourself, well, why? And that's a good question. I think best to answer that requires a bit of background. I grew up in a house that was always in tension of sorts between science and religion. I grew up in a household that had a love and appreciation for science. I watched Carl Sagan's Cosmos documentaries when I was super young. I watched the History Channel's documentaries before it became Ancient Aliens. And I also went to church. I, at the time, believed in God, and my family were regulars. But as I grew older, my family had a falling out with the church, and I slowly became a bit of a militant atheist of sorts. I was that kid who read Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion and thought it was scripture. I was the kid who thought the Enlightenment and rationality were the crowning achievements of human existence. And now I look back and just see a kid who was naive and lonely, looking for answers. I am now at a point in my life where I would consider myself almost like Descartes, in the sense that I am doubting my doubt. Not in a sense that I'm moving back towards religion. I don't know if I can say that much, but I definitely feel myself oriented towards a spiritual framework of life, if you will. It's something that philosopher Richard Kearney, I think, points out perfectly in his book, Anatheism. The term anatheism he describes as returning to God after God. And he kind of describes it in a Hegelian sense. You have your God and God beliefs. Then you have the lack of a deity and atheism. And they kind of synthesize together to ask, what comes next? He describes anatheism as having nothing to do with alpha gods or omni-gods. It is about re-imaging and reliving the sacred in the least of these. He also says that this anatheism, in its current manifestation, also coincides with a concrete historical situation that comes after the death of God, culturally, socially, and intellectually. It is marked by the announcement of Nietzsche, Marx, and Freud, by atheist exposés of the Enlightenment, the French Revolution, the modern critique of ideology, and so on. As such, it epitomizes a typical contemporary anxiety in the face of what Max Weber terms the disenchantment of the world. the desacralizing of society, and the general malaise of the abandonment of God. He asks us to take up the anatheist wager, a la Pascal, to turn hostility into hospitality, fear into love, angst into art. And I think that perfectly describes where I'm at. I want to create art. And I want to use that art as a way to experiment with literature and my sense of being, to potentially return to an enchantment of the world. And I believe the Bible is particularly good at this because, one, there's a whole religion, well, several religions based around it, but I also believe in the transformational power of literature. I think artists and creators like Chris Villa of Leaf by Leaf, even Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, and Jessica from Book Oblivion talk about this transformational power. And I'm curious, what would it mean to see that process of transformation unfold? You usually see book reviews as being at the end of books and sort of the totality of the experience, synthesized into a neat, perfect little video like this. But what would it mean if we documented that entire reading experience to show the thread of thought that evolves along the way, that knots itself up and then untangles itself as it reads? That's what I want to do. I want to read the Bible to track this transformation. Of course, I'm going to be reading the Bible from a historical, narratological lens rather than a purely spiritual, religious one. Not that I'm not open to that, I certainly am. I'm more curious as to how the story or the stories will change me. Now, you're probably asking, well, Noah, how are you going to do it? I am going to be using the Bible Project's reading timeline that they developed and using their app as sort of a supplement, granted in a more theological way, but I find that their meditations on the original Hebrew and Greek as being absolutely wonderful supplements to the reading. I am also going to be using the New Oxford Annotated Bible, which is the New Revised Standard translation of the Bible. This version also comes with the Apocrypha, which I will likely not get to, but that is okay. I will also be documenting this along the way in chunks. I plan on releasing these videos as I read likely multiple books of the Bible, and we'll do them as a bit of a summary and talk through how I'm thinking and feeling and what I'm gaining along the way. I hope to at least do one video a month over the course of the year, so you can expect 12 videos, but hopefully a few more than that. I don't know what will come with this journey. I don't know if it will make me turn more atheistic or become more spiritual. I don't know. And I hope that you, as the viewer, if you decide to comment or interact with me in this space, be forgiving and graceful. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. That's the experiment, to document what happens. So don't put any sort of expectations on what you think this will become or where I might go. I may become a more militant atheist. I might be a born-again Christian. Who knows? But what I want to emphasize is I want to show what happens when we read and are transformed by the text. If you are interested in that, feel free to subscribe, like, do all the normal BookTube things. You know the drill. Join me along the way, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.